Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'm excited to be sharing with you the 2 cards I created for March 2022 Stampin' Up! Artisan Design Team Showcase. I was asked to use the Dahlia Days stamp set along with its coordinating detailed Dahlia dies. So just give you a quick close-up of that. I really loved working with this stamp set. It has some really fun greetings. And then the flowers and leaves and things, the imagery is just really beautiful when it's stamped in color. And I'm going to be sharing with you some fun ideas on how you can get more out of those stamps. And then the dies are really fun as well. And there's this really nice big die here in the back. And this is going to be a fun one to use on so many projects. And then you may notice that here I've got a fun embossing, and I've actually used the die to emboss my cardstock. And so today I'm going to share with you how you can create an embossed look with your dies. So make sure to stick around to see that. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To purchase any of the products you see me use today, please visit my online store and the link is in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started making these cards. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp a bunch of the Dahlia stamps. And we're going to stamp them in lots of different colors, and we're going to add some extra color to them with sponge daubers. So I'm going to start with my yellows. I'm going to begin with So Saffron as my main base. So just ink that up with your lighter color. And then I've got Crushed Curry, which is a darker yellow. And I've got a sponge dauber. And I'm going to pick up some color and then just randomly stamp this color with my sponge dauber onto my stamp. And that's just going to add a little bit of color all the way around. And then stamp it. So you may not see the difference here, but we definitely will as we add other colors. So I'm going to do this 3 times. And the reason for that is because I've got 3 different layers for each flower. The next one I'm going to do is yellow with a little bit of pink, and that's going to give us kind of an orangey color. So I'm going to keep my So Saffron, and I'm going to open up Magenta Madness, and then I've got a sponge dauber for that. Now, if you're worried about the pink going onto your yellow pad, you can use something to clean your stamps between colors. So you can see how that looks by adding just a little bit more color. It's really a fun look for those flowers. Okay, next I'm going to pull in my light pink, which is Blushing Bride. So I'm going to start with my light pink, and then I'll add some of the Magenta Madness. And then I'll just do that 2 more times. Really pretty look to those flowers. So the next flower I'm going to do is pink with a little bit of yellow. So I've pulled back my Crushed Curry, and I'm going to use the Blushing Bride. I love mixing these color combinations for these flowers. I think it really just gives a fun variety to them. Okay, so I've got the flowers for my So Saffron card are done. So now let's look at our Blushing Bride card. This is exactly the same technique. I've just done it with 2 flowers instead of 4. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I've got one with Blushing Bride and Crushed Curry. So pretty. And then I have one flower with Blushing Bride and Magenta Madness. So now that our flowers are done, I'm going to do the same technique with some of these leaves. And for this one, I'm using this 3-branch leaf. And the colors I want to do are Just Jade and Evening Evergreen. So I'm going to ink up the image in Just Jade, and then I'm going to add a little Evening Evergreen along the bottom, just for some shadow and interest. And I need 3 of these. So for this card, we need some of these leaf images as well. I've used the other image, it's more of like a fern, and just stamped it in Just Jade. And you can do as many of these as you want. Look at all these beautiful flowers we have. So our next step is to cut these out. So from each set of 3, I only need to cut out with my die 1 flower. The other 2 will be fussy cut. So you can choose which one you would like to have as kind of your base flower. I'm going to pick one that maybe has a little stronger color. And then the one thing about these dies is they're just a little tricky to find out which way they go. So you just have to take your time and rotate until you see a match. The nice thing about these dies is it actually comes with 2 of each shape. So you can cut out more at one time. And I like that. So there is only 1 of the fern dies. However, they do have 2 of these leaf dies here. The 3 leaf. All right, so now I'm ready to run this all through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to go ahead and cut everything I need, and then I'll come right back. Okay, so we're back. I have cut out all of the flowers and leaves with the dies, and then I've done the fussy cutting. But I did save 1 flower to do the fussy cutting along with you, so that you can see how I do this. So you can see that from the 3 flowers, I have die cut 1 of them. So I have 2 left over, and then I'm just going to choose which one I want to fussy cut for the middle and then for the top. So there are 3 layers of petals here. If you look closely, there's the top layer and then a second layer and then the bottom layer. So for the middle flower, I'm going to cut around the middle layer of petals. Now it doesn't need to be exact. You're just kind of getting the idea and shape of this second layer of petals. Okay, so there's a close-up. And then from this last flower, I'm going to just cut around the top layer. So there's that final top layer. Then with a bone folder, you're going to curl each layer. You can just do that by wrapping the paper around the bone folder to give it some dimension. So you do that to all 3 layers. Then with a glue dot or liquid glue, you're going to adhere each layer to the larger one. So I've got my bottom layer, and then I'm just going to adhere this one. I'm going to kind of, well, I was going to rotate it to kind of get some pink on that side, but I kind of like the contrast too. So you just add the 1 layer and then add the top layer. If you wanted to try and match up the stamped images, you can do that, but you don't have to. And so now you're going to have these beautiful 3 layered flowers. I'll give you another close-up of that one so you can see all those colors. So I've got, this one is the Blushing Bride with the crushed curry. And then here we've got So Saffron with crushed curry. So very pretty. And we are now ready to put our cards together. All right, so let's go ahead and put together our yellow So Saffron card. So I've got my card base of So Saffron, and then I also have this vellum. It's the Layering Designs vellum. Can you see that there's some handwriting on that? So it's just got a fun texture to it. There is kind of a right way, so I want to make sure that the words are kind of going the direction I think they should. I think that's the right way. So I'm not going to adhere it yet to my card base, but I am going to place it on the card base so I can see it and design around it. So I'm going to choose 4 different flowers. I've got the Blushing Bride with crushed curry. I've got the yellow So Saffron with crushed curry. I have So Saffron with Magenta Madness, and then one of my Blushing Bride with Magenta Madness. And I'm going to just add these to the center of my card, kind of in an S shape. So can you see how it's going down my card vertically? I'm going to add just a little bit of liquid adhesive so that I can kind of move things around just a little bit before things dry. This one I'm going to kind of tuck up closer to that top one so that they're kind of layering on top of one another. And then kind of repeat the same thing down here at the bottom. And this one kind of tuck up between that. All right, so keep those kind of in the center, and again, creating an S shape. The next thing we're going to do is stamp our greeting. I've got some scratch paper of basic white, and I'm going to stamp in Evening Evergreen. And I want to use the stamp You Are Beyond Incredible, which is also part of the Dahlia Days stamp set. So I'm going to stamp that right in the center. And then there's this coordinating die, which is in the same detailed Dahlia dies. And I want to do a partial die cut because I only want this kind of elongated hexagon look. So I'm going to place it on my stamped image with a little washi tape. And I want it right in the center. So something like that. So it's going to look like this. Then when you run it through your embossing machine, you want to make sure that you're only covering the areas that you want to cut. So this is my bottom plate, so I'm going to place that right in the middle, but then my top plate only covers the area that I want cut. So I'm going to angle it slightly so that I can cut right there. So this is the area I want cut. I don't really want this shape up here. So I'm going to run that through my machine and I'll be right back. So when I remove this from the paper, you'll see that I have cut just this section here. So now I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side. So for this part, it's important that you're able to line up your die with the existing cut. So I'm just going to place that tape off to the side. So I'm going to line up this corner down here with my existing cut line so that I get the right shape. It's kind of easier actually if you remove this excess paper. I don't really need that paper right there. Then I can see what I'm doing a little better. So that's going to just pop in right there. And then make sure that lines up all nicely. Okay, and then turn it over. And now you can add your washi tape. And then you can double check one last time that everything's in the right place before running it through. It can be a little tricky. Okay, So then once you have that in place, you'll just do the same thing. You will cover up with the top plate the area you want cut, and then run it through your machine, just like this. And then you should end up with a label that looks something like this. You're going to add this to your card with dimensionals. Right in the center between the flowers, and you can tuck it in around the flowers. So between those layers is kind of a nice look. I'm going to just place everything nice and straight. There we go. The next thing is, one of the fun things about vellum is that you can see through it. And so our next thing we're going to do is actually add the ferns behind the vellum. And then it's just going to give us this little touch of green back there. And I really love that effect. So I've added glue dots to the front of the ferns. And you can place these anywhere you want. I cut 6 of them, but I think I'm just going to use 5. So I did 3 up there, and then maybe another 2 down here near the bottom. Okay, so wherever you want to place those, it's kind of a fun look. And now we can add this to the front of our card. So here's where we want to place our adhesive. I'm just going to use a little liquid adhesive on the back of each of these items because I know I won't be able to see it when I've added it to my card. Vellum is tricky because you can see that adhesive sometimes. And that just goes straight on like so. We'll add a couple embellishments to finish our card after we finish our second card. So let's jump over and do that one next. Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm going to show you how you can take one of your dies and create an embossed look on cardstock. So you're going to do this by taking your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine plates, and you've got platform 1 and then your 2 clear plates. So you're also going to need a silicone craft sheet, and you're going to lay that down next. This is what keeps the die from cutting all the way through and just embossing the cardstock. Place your cardstock down, then your embossing plate with the cut side onto the cardstock. And then you'll layer your second clear plate on top. So there's no other platforms to this. You've got platform 1, your 2 clear plates, and a silicone craft sheet. And then go ahead and run that through, and I'll show you the results in just a minute. Okay, and then you get this really fun, unique embossed cardstock that you can add to your card. So this card begins with a card base of Blushing Bride. I'm also using another one of those layering vellum designs. Instead of handwritten, it's more of typed lettering on there. So just make sure it looks like it's going the right direction, and it goes right in the center of your card base. So next I'm going to add some mother of pearl cardstock. This piece has got some gorgeous shine to it and a little bit of color. It's just really a nice accent piece. It is 3 1/4 inches by 4.5 inches and just gets added right to the center of my card. All right, so right now we're just going to put this off to the side and we'll work on the polished pink cardstock that we just embossed. This piece is 3 inches by 4.25 inches. And I'm going to begin by adding a little bit of this frayed ribbon. It's 3/4 of an inch in width, and so I'm going to just layer it here on my card. So I'm going to cut maybe about 8 inches and then just fold it in half. Let's see, I want it to look a little bit like that. So there's a little bit of an opening between the ribbon. And then lay it, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Lay it so that the fold is right up against the top of that cardstock. And then take a stapler and you're going to just bring it up to the top and staple that, and make sure that you get a nice, good staple in there. This stapler sometimes gives me fits. So I have about 1/4 of an inch of the polished pink cardstock showing on that right side. And then I can take a pair of scissors and just trim these to an angle at the length that I want. So you'll get something that looks like this when you're done. And then you can add this to your card. I already have a little adhesive on the back, and it just goes right in the center. Next, let's go ahead and layer our flowers. I'm going to do a little liquid adhesive on the top flower because it's going to go on top of my ribbon, and I want it to just make sure that it adheres nicely. So right there in the corner, this is my Blushing Bride with crushed curry. And then my second flower has a dimensional, and that's just going to help it so that it pops up and works along with some of those other layers so it doesn't get hidden. And then I've placed my leaves on some glue dots, and I can just tuck those around the flowers. Just like that. And we're going to cover up this area here with our greeting. So I'm going to use the greeting, "Sending you lots of love," and this is stamped in Evening Evergreen on some scratch basic white cardstock. And I'm going to use that same die to cut it out. This time we're going to go vertically with the die. And I'm just going to line up so that it looks good in the center. I've got the word "sending you" kind of sitting right there. Add a little washi tape to hold in place. Then remember, when we cut this, we want to cover the area that we want cut. So that's going to be this top half, and then run it through your machine just like that. Remove your die. This is very similar to what we just did for our first card. And I am going to remove this extra cardstock on the sides so that I can see how everything's lining up. You just flip it over and line it up where you want it. Make sure that it's lining up on the inside too, so that your cut lines are not, you don't get like a weird double cut going on. So then you can just layer it like this. And I have found that putting it into the machine with the top plate first, and then kind of you can have some wiggle room as to how that goes in, is the easiest. So you'll end up with something like this. And then I've just added a dimensional to the back, and you can slide that right into this corner. And it will look something like that. So the last thing we're going to do is to add some of these iridescent rhinestone basic jewels to our cards. I did place the large ones in the center of the flowers. I think it just really completes the look. And then I've added some of the small ones around the card. The greeting, and then maybe in the background of a couple places. So there's that one. You can see all that pretty shine that they give. It's just gorgeous. And then for our yellow card, again, the large ones in the center. I love how they kind of pick up that pink and yellow from the cards. And again, some of the small ones just around in a couple places. Okay, so those cards are all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these really beautiful cards with the Dahlia Days stamp set and coordinating detailed Dahlia dies. If you're interested in getting written instructions or seeing close-up images of these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. If you would like to purchase any of the Stampin' Up! Products you have seen me use today, please use the link to my online store below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye!